Hello, I think we are live. Yes, it would appear we are. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this talk today on B2B psychology, B2B marketing psychology. I'm going to share my screens right now. Well, my screen. So, yeah, fantastic to have everyone. Today, we are going to be talking about strategies that can help you as a B2B marketer or a content marketer in the B2B space get better quality leads, find your audience and get through to them with your marketing materials, using some strategies that go beyond what the traditional sort of approaches to B2B marketing are. So that's the purpose of the talk today. I'm going to get through it in a bit. I just wanted to say at the outset, so this is obviously for a B2B audience in mind, but if you are in this room and you're not strictly in a B2B company, you will still find some concepts that really relate. And in fact, many of the concepts I'm going to talk about, I actually stole from the B2C side of things. So there will be some interesting points, especially if you generate leads. So if you're a B2C company that is generating leads, you have a sales team that talks to those leads, puts quotes together, and all of that, it's going to be especially relevant. So don't immediately jump out if you're not. If you are, then definitely in the right room. Okay, cool. So I want to start off with a quote from Rory Sutherland. Now, Rory is a behavioral economist / I guess you could call him a marketing psychologist at this point, at Ogilvy, the big advertising agency they're global now. And he's got a quote that says, "Just because we put a suit on to go to work every day does not mean we stop being human." And that's super, super relevant. And a big problem in everything I see on the B2B marketing side is actually this problem that people are not also putting into their marketing materials an effort to impress or persuade the person on a personal level. So as in, what are they there at work to do? Why do they spend 8 hours of their day all week trying to do better at their jobs? There's lots of human reasons, which we're going to cover in this talk. And so that quote basically captures it all. Just because we put on a suit, we don't just become spokespeople of the company. Yes, we're interested in making our companies grow, but it's because it helps us grow. And so if we can update what we're doing on our marketing to reflect this, we can capture people on multiple levels. So in terms of the structure of the talk, I'm just going to quickly go through that. Oh, the keyboard doesn't work. Yep. So we're going to quickly cover why we're interested in B2B marketing psychology. Like, why do we need to even talk about this topic? Then what it is and kind of how it differentiates from traditional content strategy, which is, almost like a nascent version of marketing psychology. So many of you may already be doing a lot of these things. I'm going to check in the chat as well. At some point, potentially, I'm going to ask you to let me know how many of you are actually doing kind of best practice content strategy. And then we're going to go into the meat of the matter, which is these advanced psychology principles, the three main ones being the concept of the hero's journey, the science of human status, and new opportunity framing. And then I'm going to go into examples at the end that are sort of examples of how you can update marketing material to fit this kind of profile. And that's going to be the structure of the talk. So before we do that, just a little bit about me. So why am I kind of qualified, let's say, to talk to you about this? My name's Larry Kotch, and I'm the founder of The Brains. This is an agency in the UK that also has a big office in Bulgaria, in Europe. And I'm sort of the resident B2B nerd. Last year, when I was lucky enough to be under 30, actually, today's my birthday, by the way, just in case people are interested in that. It's actually my birthday. So I'm doing what I love. So that's a good birthday, right? I was sort of in this list of 30 under 30 B2B marketers. That's reflective of my deep nerd-like interest in B2B. So at The Brains, I spend a lot of time talking to people about how they can get their B2B companies in very niche sectors or generating leads for very complex B2B businesses that maybe have a small target audience, a long sale process, very high deal values, but quite hard, multiple stakeholders involved in signing deals off. And so how you can make your sort of technical, often very niche business propositions really land with those people and stand above the competition. So that's why I actually veered into marketing psychology, because it was in my effort as this B2B person advising companies on how to generate leads in the B2B space, that I was looking for a competitive edge. I was looking for some IP, let's put it that way, some intellectual property or something that I could build a case for a better way of doing things on the B2B lead gen side. And so that's really why this whole talk came about. And there's at least 18 months of research now that's gone into this. If you ever want more information, by the way, just at the outset, you can visit my website. I've got several PDFs on there about marketing psychology. And you can email me at the end of this. I'm going to go back to this slide. If you have any specific questions, we are going to open a Q&A at the end for 5 minutes. But like, if you want, like a reading list or any of the books that I covered or whatever, we can go into there. And I have a pretty popular YouTube channel called Brainy Marketing, where, again, kind of delve into some of these topics in more detail. So you can hunt around there and maybe you'll find something good. Right, so that's enough about me. So let's go into why B2B marketing psychology. And this really speaks to why I got into this in the first place. And it's a kind of recognition that content strategy is no longer enough. And we're going to in the next slide cover what traditional content strategy is, just for those people that don't know. And actually, I would actually ask, if you do know what content strategy is, or you're deploying content strategy principles, if you just let me know in the message in the chat, just with a yes, then I'll know how much time to spend on that or whether to go through it a bit quicker. But so it was a recognition that there's tried and tested ways that B2B marketers build their landing pages, build their content strategy, their blogs, their lead magnets, their webinars, that are all aimed at attracting, a sort of top funnel audience into their kind of marketing funnels. And so things like the marketing personas and all the rest of it, this is what we call sort of traditional content strategy. And I was realizing that we've arrived at a kind of peak content where most B2B companies in your space, potentially even much larger ones, already are doing a lot of this. And so how do we stand up above that? Especially maybe if we've got a smaller budget as a B2B company, there's some Goliaths in the industry. How do we actually make our content, our lead magnets, our ads have better metrics than these competitors with a huge budget who are investing way more into content production? So I just realized that we needed an edge here. We needed something. So that's why B2B marketing psychology is a way of going deeper than content strategy. And what that ultimately leads to for us, which as marketers and business owners and salespeople, is we want a better cost per lead. We want higher quality leads that are going to be, have a higher chance of closing and, makes better use of every advertising dollar we spend, or every dollar we spend on content production. So that's really why. That's why, if you do this correctly, the point is that your content, everything stands up above everyone else. And we're going to go through that. That's the point of this talk. So I keep forgetting my keyboard doesn't work. Yes. So into what it is. So in order to kind of go into what B2B marketing psychology is and some of these advanced principles, we need to just cover the basics. I just going to check in the chat here. A lot of people saying happy birthday. Cheers. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And it seems like a few people are saying yes. Not too many. So I'm going to just cover this a little bit. So the way that content strategy works is that successful B2B companies use this concept of the marketing persona. And that is basically a kind of proto-psychology in a way. It's like you trying to work out who it is that I sell to in as fine a detail as you can, what they like, what they don't like, what topics interest them, what they need to succeed in their job, what their objections are to using services like yours, what the alternatives are that they might be considering, and then trying to work backwards from that, what content you need to deliver. So if you took like a marketing agency like mine, my customer personas are might be someone that I might do it by industry. So I might have a tech person, a tech founder that's really interested in the numbers. I might have a B2B kind of services audience, and I might have like a financial services, right? Or I could say my three personas are a sales director, a marketing manager, and a business founder, because they're three different people. They have three different actually ways of judging information and things that they actually want to take seriously. So the concept of personas allows you to break down your audience in as fine a detail as possible, and you create content that aligns with each of those personas. So you don't create an ad that is targeted at everyone. You have your ads targeted to specific people, and this is linked to this concept of personalization. I'm sure you see it all the time on the B2C side. On Facebook, if you have just had a child, you're going to start seeing ads for babies, for baby clothes, for preschools and all that. If you are clicking all the time on sports related stuff, you're going to see pictures, ads about gym memberships and personal trainers and all that. So personalization is just part of personas. This is how we in the B2B space really try and craft as personalized as possible information for our personas. The next bit of this is the buyer's journey. The buyer's journey is just a reflection that most people in your market, especially if you're sort of quite complex, are aware that they have problems. Like let's say you're just to use my agency still, even if you had a marketing department that was working okay, you might be aware that, hey, we're struggling to find the return on investment on channels. The tracking doesn't seem to be working too well. We think things are going well, but I'm kind of aware that that's a problem, that I might be in a dark space there. But it's not that you're considering anyone. It's not that you're looking to hire someone. It's not that you're looking for freelancers or to hire an agency or something. You're just aware that you might have a general problem, and you might be receptive to messages that are sort of top of funnel that are trying to teach you something. The second stage of the buyer's journey, and by the way, this buyer's journey can be built out in different ways. This is like the real core. But the second stage is the consideration phase, where you realize you've got a problem and you're now considering your options. You're like really interested in solving that problem, and you're researching, looking for articles, watching videos, maybe on people's websites to see how they talk about it. And you're kind of sort of saying, yeah, I've identified I've got this problem and I really do want to solve it, but how do I go about doing that? And the final stage is somebody's actually ready to make a decision. They've actually learned everything they need to learn, and they're now trying to evaluate suppliers on who's the best person for them. So that's the typical buyer's journey. And most of the market is at the top there. They're sort of aware of something, but they're not really motivated to act yet. So as content creators or advertisers, you don't want to just be aligning to personas. You want to be aligning to personas and also where they are in the buyer's journey. So you don't want to start advertising to someone, hey, buy my work with my agency or work with my accountancy and you'll get the first month free, or just super transactional ads, because most of the people you'll be advertising to will be at the awareness stage. They're not even in the mental framework to discuss suppliers and and costs and all of that. So really, you want your marketing messages, your ad copy, your landing pages, your lead magnets to be aligned not only to the persona, but to the stages in the buyer's journey. And so this is kind of what we call traditional content strategy. In all of your marketing materials, there's the concept of authority. The more logos you can have, the awards you've won, the things you've been featured in, the client testimonials and case studies. This is how B2B marketers have traditionally captured a top funnel audience and brought them down the funnel, is by trying to think as much as they can about the corporate, interests of their different personas, aligning content to them at different stages of the buyer's journey, getting them into some kind of database, keep in touch with them, keep demonstrating authority as well as educating them, and hopefully out of the other end spits a sales qualified lead that your sales team can then deal with. So that's kind of the traditional content strategy. And I mean, I think from the sounds of it in the chat, a few people are indeed using this, and the statistics are actually very promising. Companies that exceed their lead generation goals, I think about 80% of them use these principles. So if you're not already, this is kind of like getting you to the starting line, or not even to the starting line. It's like getting you to doing everything in current best practice. And everything we're going to talk on from after here is sort of trying to soup that up. And so I definitely encourage anyone who's not like aware of this stuff to kind of really get into it. And I'm sure there's other talks today that will cover some of these things as well. So what does marketing psychology do then? How does it advance this? So what it tries to do is basically on this level, the persona level, it's a deeper dive on this persona, a much deeper dive. So it's a reflection, it's a realization that you can influence the individual as well from an actual personal advancement in life point of view, as well as what they're interested in for their job or their company. Like, it's kind of like trying to go a level deeper. It's like, why are you trying to achieve the things you're trying to achieve in your job? Well, it's to have a more secure income, to look very intelligent at work, to build my relationships at work. There's all sorts of things going on under the current that drive people to do what they do, apart from like, I need to learn about this topic. It's all with an aim in mind. And so B2B psychology tries to connect on that personal level. And it's effectively, it's kind of a weird term to use, but it's trying to brainwash your B2B prospects to view you as the only solution, a very irresistible solution. So when they're looking every day in LinkedIn or on websites, and they're seeing all this content talking about these things they're aware they need to solve, what is going to really flash out and say, hey, this is an irresistible thing that I've not seen before, and I don't care about all the rest of it. This is my solution right here. So that's what the aim of B2B marketing psychology is. And it's kind of different to B2C psychology. So if you ever read about marketing psychology, you'll find it kind of focuses on things like UI, UX, and product design, and color psychology, and how mouse clicks are going on. In B2B audiences, we're not dealing with hundreds of thousands of kind of people on our websites, like traffic, and trying to optimize checkout journeys and things like that. It's the main research into marketing psychology is around buying psychology, how you can trap people with some kind of freemium model and then get them into a paid service, that sort of thing. This is not what we're doing in B2B marketing psychology. We need a fundamentally different approach. And hopefully I'll be able to advance some concepts here that will please you guys, and you'll be able to take away and use. So that's what we're going to cover now. So before I jump into the stuff that you really want to hear, the advanced B2B psychology principles, I'm going to cover these three items: the hero's journey, human status, and new opportunity framing. And at the end, we're going to kind of put it all together to see how it all works. So if it sounds a bit theoretical, that's because, this is a theory that I'm advancing to you. So I would just say to wait till we get to that last slide, and you're going to see how it all stitches together. I would also say that some of this stuff can sometimes sound like a kind of pessimistic view of human beings in a way. But we want to look for what works as marketers. There's certain contexts where B2B psychology infusing in your marketing materials is more appropriate than others. It's not to say rewrite your whole website to sound like some huge transformative journey, which we'll get into. But these are principles that should guide you, rather than being like, okay, well, I need to chuck everything I've done out the window. So all of the standard content strategy stuff still applies. This is help you maximize, especially in your lead magnets. So the ads that you're going out to collect top funnel leads. This is where the ad copy, all of that is going to really, really shine, and also on some landing pages, depending on what you're doing. So the hero's journey. Let's start with that. So the theory here is that all human beings are essentially dramatic animals. So before the sort of enlightenment, or let's say rationality, since we kind of discovered science, the theory of the atomic theory and everything, human beings, and they still do today, look at the world as a stage on which a drama is happening, which is why, before we had the scientific revolution and all that, people would look at the world as everything is an actor on this stage. So human beings are actors, nature is an actor, gods are actors. And there's this sense of these archetypal human forces that shape everything. And so it was concepts like, the benevolent king, the tyrannical king, the benevolent mother, the vengeful mother. Like there's all sorts of archetypes that we've infused in the way we look at the world. And so we actually still, as human beings, despite having rationality, on board, we are still fundamentally dramatic animals that seek drama, and we really like stories. We really love stories. It's why we spend all of our time watching Netflix and YouTube and not doing our job. So it's because we love stories. And it turns out that there is a story that we love more than anything, and it is the key component to a good story. And that key component is that a character has a problem and meets a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action that ends in a success and helps them avoid failure. This is a story of transformation. So I want to, I'm going to use Star Wars because I'm sure all of you know Star Wars. Luke Skywalker has a problem. He wants to liberate the galaxy from the tyrannical oppression of the Galactic Empire. He wants to get involved. He's naive. We connect with him because we see that in ourselves. And he meets a guide, which is Yoda. Yoda gives him a plan on how he can defeat Darth Vader and bring an end to the whole empire. He kind of struggles against that plan. We relate in his sort of rebelliousness to that, and he's sort of conflicted with his duty to his friends and duty to, get rid of this Darth Vader guy. And eventually he's called to action, and it ends in a success and helps avoid a huge failure, which is like the death of everything. So this is a story where someone we relate to, a character, has gone through this story arc, and it releases this happiness endorphin to know that we have just witnessed this positive transformation in this person. And loads of the really popular stories and films that you'll find follow this. And so this is taken actually from a concept called the story brand, how to build a story brand. And effectively what you just do here is you replace the character with your customer, and your company is the guide and your services is the plan. So when you're writing landing pages, ad copy, websites, you have to remember that your customer is the actual hero of the journey, not you. So what you're doing is interesting, but it's not about you. It's about them, and it's about giving them a plan to positive transformation that's going to end in them avoiding a failure and ending in a huge success. And we're going to get to how this all fits together in the next bit. So that's the kind of idea of the story. We want our marketing messages to have this baked in. So I then need to give you this wider understanding of human status. So human, and this relates to the story in a bit. So human status is the idea that human beings are actually seeking at any point to maximize their health, wealth, and relationships. And again, look, I know that you can sort of quibble about these things. Just bear with me. I know that this might be seen as a pessimistic view of human beings, but this is what we're trying to do. And in any single domain of human interest or activity, there is a hierarchy of competence or a hierarchy of success. So for instance, let's just say basketball. Most people are about average. If they spend their time playing basketball every day, they'll be about average. Very few people will be high skilled, and very few people will be low skilled. And it applies to everything, whether it's painting, blockchain, web development, being compassionate, being empathetic, reading, whatever it is, everything we're in, there's like a kind of hierarchy of skill. And we afford high status to the people at the top of hierarchies. There's not just one universal hierarchy. Human beings are engaged in multiple hierarchies. And what we see is people that are at the top end of any given hierarchy, they're afforded a lot of status. So human beings are always thinking to themselves, how do I become happy? Like how do I increase my happiness? Which, I think everyone can agree that we're trying to increase our happiness. And happiness is released when we feel that we are achieving or becoming recognized as high status. So the higher our status goes, and this doesn't have to be just like, buying stuff, being wealthy, having 10 houses. It can be things as existential things like, do my family love me? Does my wife or my husband love me? Like, do my friends think I'm cool? Really interesting things like that as well. But ultimately, whatever we value, there's a hierarchy to anything that we value. And we're always trying to push ourselves in this sort of idealized version of ourselves. We have where we are now, and we have this ideal version of ourselves who's got, six-pack abs, runs 15 million companies, is also very chilled and can live on the beach half the time. That's like sort of our heaven. It's like, imagine if we could do all those things. And then we've got our kind of hell, obviously, which is everything just goes tits up. And so when our happiness is increased, when we feel that we have transformed and gone up a stage. And so when it comes to work, what are people spending 8 hours of their time doing at work? And so it's useful to understand that wealth and relationships are also managed at work. That is the main reason why we're there. The reason why we want more job security and more income is so that we can then, pay a personal trainer to help us lose 30 pounds, let's say, if we want to, or to eat healthier. It allows us to have more stable, better relationships. We want our relationships at work. We want our colleagues to perceive us really well. They're people we interact with every single day. We want our title to reflect our contributions. So there's all these things that signify status in different areas. And a lot of what we're doing is wealth, or sort of money, is a kind of medium of value exchange. And so by earning more money, you can then use that value in the money that you have to go and acquire better health, potentially better relationships, inadvertently round the way. So this kind of sounds a bit pessimistic, maybe. Not everybody's, you might think this is a very consumerist way of thinking. But for most people who are kind of plugged into the system, like all of us, I would suppose, we're sort of thinking at least in some ways on these levels. And so it's really important to understand that people are not just sitting at work because they've got nothing better to do. They're sitting at work because they're trying to increase their human status. They're trying to become happy by being, wealthier, healthier, have better relationships, be seen better by others. And so if we can, in our marketing material, reflect this, we're going to have a really good time. And I'm going to get to how we do that. But so this is the next theory I want to advance. So in this story here of Luke, what we see is somebody who has low status to begin with, someone who's just kind of like a kind of teenager who doesn't really have much going on, who has this huge insurmountable problem, who sees an idealized version of himself as, freeing the galaxy. And through meeting a guide with services, he's able to transform his status into someone of incredibly high status. And we love that story because we all secretly want the same status. We'll secretly or actually overtly want that same status. So what I'm saying here is that our marketing message is an opportunity to link the movement up in status with your services, reading your content, understanding what, and working with your company. It's an opportunity to say, not only does my content, my lead magnet help you understand X, bear in mind that understanding X is going to increase your status very, very rapidly. And so we'll talk more about this in a second, but that's just what I want to kind of start sketching this for you. The third bit here is now how we tie this all together, and it's called the new opportunity framing. So I want you to imagine you walk into a gym, and let's say you want to lose 30 pounds. And let's say you spent the last 6 months trying to lose weight. You're trying to lose, let's say 20 pounds or 10 kilos. And you've been doing for the last 6 months, you've been looking online, you've been eating well, you've been drinking a lot of water, you've been getting your sleep, you've been kind of counting your calories a little bit, you're sort of trying to pick healthier options, but the weight is just not coming off. And you're going to gym, like 4 times a week, and you're just not seeing anything. So you're kind of negged out at this point, and you think, I want to go for a personal trainer, or I want to find someone, a coach, that's going to help me shed the weight. Now, imagine if you had 2 people. You walk into this gym and you get 2 personal trainers who come in front of you. One of them says, I've got an improvement offer for you. So he doesn't say I've got an improvement offer, but I've got an offer for you. I'm going to help you track your calories extremely well using an app. I'm going to be here and set your diet calendar and your nutritional needs, and I'm going to work with you in the gym to do the right exercises, right? That's what we call an improvement offer. These are all things you've already been doing. You've just done it badly. And this person is basically saying, yeah, basically you need to go and put the work in and just do all these things, and you're gonna lose the weight. Take the second person who comes to you and says, you know what? The reason why you're losing weight is not because you're not doing the right things. You're doing all of the right things. You have just not been aware of the awesome power of ketosis. And actually, if you were to cut out all carbohydrates, it's going to be tough for the first 4 days, but after that, the pounds are just going to shed off. And this is how, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon lost all of their weight at the last movie, the last Avengers or something, And this is the secret that nobody else knows about, that they've been using in Hollywood to shed weight like this. And I've got a really easy plan for you with just some easy recipes. You don't even need to go to the gym really. You just need to go for a walk every day, and the weight is just going to shed off. Now, if you have been struggling unsuccessfully for 6 months, maybe years, to lose weight, can you see how this new opportunity, this thing you've never heard of before, immediately makes you more receptive? The improvement offer, you have to actually admit that your own efforts were poor. So first of all, you have to admit that you failed. You have previous negative associations of the gym, of the kind of tracking calories, of healthy food. You've already been struggling through this. And you feel like you might actually decrease in status if you engage this person and it doesn't work, and you suspect it might not work because it hasn't worked for you already. You're already like pessimistic. So you're really not motivated to act. Whereas this new opportunity, it allows you to not have to admit any of that. The reason why I wasn't successful is not because, I just wasn't actually tracking my calories properly. It's because I didn't have the secret ketosis method that everyone is using, that everyone's been hiding from us. Well, I don't have to berate myself or anything. I can just jump in with this other personal trainer and they are going to sort me out. So you're much more highly motivated to act. Now, it's bear in mind, before I get the inevitable question, it's obviously much better to do the improvement offer, as in that is the way you lose weight. Ketosis is a silver bullet. So what this all means is and this is where I got the most of my research from, is I looked on the internet and I said, who are the people who are the most successful in their content marketing? Who are the people that make millions of pounds without ever speaking to anyone, just based on the power of their content? And the answer was the personal gurus. And you see them all over your feeds on Facebook, whether it's fitness coaches, financial advisors, get rich quick schemes, all of these things. And all of us, I hope, in this room can recognize that what those people are doing is not good. We don't want to ever be perceived like that. They're selling stuff that, it's almost like a sense of a sort of false advertising. But the psychological techniques that they were using to sell people with these, I thought were very fascinating. So I was saying to myself, right, I don't like what they're doing, but I'm trying to look at what is most successful on the internet and what can help my B2B clients. And so as I was looking for this edge in B2B, I thought, how can I approach what they're doing there for these very ill things, for these bad ends? How can I take the same psychological principles and maybe use them for my B2B content? So when I'm making lead magnets or ad copy. So I'm not selling anything at that point, I'm selling content. I'm getting people at the top of my funnel. I figure that is an ethical use, a much more ethical use of that, whatever science is going on there. And so that's where I came across the kind of new opportunity framing, which is effectively a way that you have to spin your services, your content as a totally new, revolutionary opportunity that nobody else has, right? So it's like, we're going to get to some examples at the bottom, but it's like, which one would you rather read? The 2021 Guide to Retargeting, by the brains you've never heard of, the 2021 Guide to Retargeting, or would you rather like to read how this marketing manager doubled online revenues using this one secret retargeting trick that nobody's heard of? That second one basically signals a totally new opportunity. Because I'm specifying my persona, the marketing manager doubling their revenues, they know that this is going to come with a transformation in their status and is going to help them conclude their hero's journey or advance themselves to the end of their hero's journey. So just in that change of title, we can go from just why don't you work with us because we're great at retargeting, and everyone knows the basics of retargeting, right? They know kind of what it is. A guide to 21 retargeting is just vanilla. Every single agency, every single marketer is pumping out stuff about retargeting. If you just talk about the same thing as everyone else in your industry, just that's topical, yes, sure, my audience is interested in retargeting, but so what? You can't just craft your personas and say, well, they're interested in retargeting, they're interested in performance advertising, interested in this, so let's just create content about that. You've got to go a level beyond and say, how do you frame this as something that has never been seen before, some kind of IP that they can really, really latch onto and find irresistible, because they're not seeing it anywhere else. So they have to download it because it indicates it's going to rapidly transform their status, because it's just this new thing that nobody's done before that if they implement right now is going to lead to potentially massive gains. Now, obviously, the content that you actually produce, the IP has to be real. This thing has to actually have that potential. But a lot of time, the basics can be almost similar in those two documents, the Guide to 2021 Retargeting. Let's say if you're an absolute expert in retargeting, you might literally have a silver bullet. But because you've packaged it in this improvement offer, so like the two awesome secrets you've discovered this year in retargeting that have massively like 10x'd your clients' return on investment on their ads. If you're packaging that under a new Guide to Retargeting 2021, expert retargeting guide, that's way too vanilla. You want to bring it up as a new opportunity. It's the two secret techniques that nobody's heard of that led to 300% increase for X client. That then allows the person on the other side to not only be like, I'm interested in retargeting, but I'm also interested in 10xing what I'm doing, because I'm going to look like a genius internally, and I'm going to probably have better job security and probably a better title and a better income. So the way that you write everything has to be talking to the person as well. And you want to do this to varying levels. You can't just be obvious about this. You can't just say like, hey, Mr. Persona, would you like to earn double in your salary? You can't do that kind of thing. But there's ways that you can subtly imply and just sort of, switch on in the person's brain. This isn't just about learning something here. You are learning something because you are seeking to increase your status. And this connects the dots. Reading this thing, this silver bullet is the thing you've been missing to go from, it's the plan that you were looking for to help you defeat the empire, which in that case might be a better marketing department. So that's basically what the new opportunity improvement offer is. So I hope everyone's kind of with me there. I do tend to ramble a lot when I get excited about stuff. So hopefully it kind of works. And I'm just going to go into just tying it all together. So if we put this all together, the B2B customer is the protagonist in the story of their life. And what they're doing at work is part of that story. They crave a happy ending, and they need to be perceived as high status, however they define that status. They need a guide to help them achieve this high status, as it's difficult to get to the top of any hierarchy alone. And your marketing material must communicate a new opportunity to transform their status quickly, in addition to all the traditional persona and topical content strategy relevance. And so what people want is to be able to link clicking your ad, downloading your lead magnet, downloading your submitting a contact form with a rapid increase in status. And so there's subtle ways of doing this. There's not like unfortunately, I can't just give like a blanket way of doing this, but I just hope that everyone has found value in this. I'm going to switch on the Q&A in a sec. We're just going to go through a few examples here, like 4 examples. And what I thought is in the Q&A, if you had any sort of lead magnets that you're working on now, like ebooks or webinar, and you actually have the title and you think it might be a bit vanilla, you can just message me in the Q&A, and then and then I'll read out what a optimized version of that might be. And so obviously it's just off the cuff, but maybe it's going to help people kind of see what I'm driving at. So anyone who is just about to press live on some kind of webinar or ebook or white paper or whatever it is, definitely if you've got a title and you think it might be a bit vanilla, put it in. So here are some lead magnet titles that I would call vanilla. So like this topic, right? An introduction to B2B marketing psychology. Okay, it is quite a niche topic anyway. So fine. Some people will still find that interesting. But how this B2B marketer doubled leads with these corporate psychology secrets is a lot more optimized than that. You've got the 10 best retargeting tips. Marketing managers are blown away by this revolutionary new retargeting tech that increases online revenues by 60%. This is just when you're looking at these things just come up, in a feed on LinkedIn, let's say, and you just say the top 10 retargeting tips, like that is so vanilla. Like any top 10, if you're creating any content that has the top 5 anything, the top 3 anything, you may as well just not bother. I mean, it's like people might read that, yes, but you're just ticking a box at that point. It's like, who cares about the top 5 tips? Like there's peak content. Like I just need to like Google retargeting for 1 second. It will just be like just massive amount of stuff. So you want something that blows it out of the water. This one, infrastructure owners and geospatial analytics. This was for actually for a client that is a geospatial analytics company. And so instead, you go lessons learned from the Edenville dam failure, how to avoid them using military-grade satellite observation. This is the same title that they were using before, the one on the left, which was just to sort of tell infrastructure owners, people who own dams and pipelines, how geospatial analytics works. And that was the title. But this over here, a recent dam failure, everyone in the industry was talking about this dam failure. It was a massive high-profile thing, and how to avoid them using military-grade satellite observation. It all just kind of people want to avoid failure, right? That's another one. They just want to avoid failure. They don't want to be that. They don't want to be Luke Skywalker failing and the Empire crushing every human soul in the galaxy, right? So failure can also be a good one. How to avoid failure. And then this one, the guide to Microsoft Cloud software for small business. how this one simple Microsoft Cloud trick helped small company X grow by 40% in 1 year. So really trying to focus in on one thing, and to make so the content in this could be very similar, right? So within this, the client in this actual case had a very, very interesting set of Microsoft Cloud tools that most small businesses were totally unaware of. But they're just saying the guide to Microsoft Cloud software. I mean, you can just go to Microsoft's website and download a guide. What you want is the true value, like the thing that's going to transform value, so that's how you would optimize the title, right? So I think we're 5 minutes, so I have to turn the Q&A on. So let me just do that. I should know how to do this, but I probably don't. I think people can still message me though. Yeah. So for the end of this, I'm pretty sure people can still talk to me. Yes. So if anyone has any titles that they're working on at the moment that they would like to just kind of post in there, I'm happy to do some like quick fire stuff to the best of my ability. But if I don't, I'll understand. It's kind of marketing material. You might not want to push that up. And I've got poll results as well. Cool. Okay, well, look, guys, that's my title. My thing. If anyone has any questions, I think it's live. I mean, the Q&A seems live to me right now. Let me stop sharing. I'm pretty sure it's live, but maybe not. But anyway, if you want to look, if the Q&A doesn't work, there's my email over here. Like I said, there's like a YouTube channel. So Andre asks, personal finance simplified. So if you're doing personal finance, that's a very good niche for some of these techniques. So you'd have to say something like, well, I don't know exactly what you do, but let's say you dealt in tax, or you dealt in if it was, I don't know if is it wealth management, or is it sort of or just actual personal finances in terms of like tax and all the rest of it. Because if it were, you might say something like the hidden cost of not submitting X or Y, and how to it can be millions, how this person avoided bankruptcy, something like that, and it's like a kind of case study type content that focuses in on one area. What else we got here? One of our ebook titles, this is from Rugile, sorry if I got that wrong. One of our ebook titles is working on enterprise communications, the benefit of using virtual phone number. Yeah, okay. So that's one where everyone is aware of virtual phone numbers now, or a lot of people are. So ideally, you want to maybe think about some other USPs that you've got and link it to something real. So in order to motivate someone, they need to know how they're going to save money or how they're going to make money. So ideally, you could say like, one could be around leads. Let's say the number of leads you lose. Something about how many leads you lose. So you could say like how this business owner, how this business owner didn't realize they were losing 30 leads a month because of old dinosaur phone numbers, and how digital phone numbers can help you generate twice as many leads through better tech or something. Because then the person is thinking about, it depends who your personas are, right? If your persona is like the business or the operations person, you could maybe do it on like the cost saving of it, but you kind of want to think like that, and actually probably specify the persona. So how this COO saved 20% on telecommunications using this new digital virtual number stack or something. But that's something along those lines. And then books. So Daryl says, what books and or resources would you recommend for further research into B2B marketing psychology? So funnily enough, I'm going to say everything by Rory Sutherland that he's written is great. So I'm going to type it in here. I would also say Expert Secrets. by Russell Brunson. So this is the one where he's basically the scientist that came up with all of the sort of new opportunity framing and all that stuff for the B2C audience. So he basically coaches coaches. He coaches coaches on how to build content funnels. And so there's a lot of very interesting concepts. I mean, I've basically pulled out the concepts that I thought were most relevant for B2B, but there's lots of other stuff in there. I couldn't give it, if I had like 2 hours, maybe I would go into other of his things. So I would definitely read that book. And there's a few others. There's like sort of academic papers, which I have to dig the title out of as well. But I think definitely start with those two, and they will link you. They'll just get you into the whole world of it. Let's see, wealth management software, books and resources would you recommend for? Yeah, so that's that one. So yeah, wealth management software. So that's from Andre. I'm assuming that's like I don't know if that's like like a Betterment or like an ETF-matic, like a sort of robo advisor, or if it's like a kind of more software for wealth managers. So if it's like robo advice, or if it's actual wealth management software, you might say something there would be about if it's the latter, it would be about making sure that your clients are sort of you are retained, so people keep your you keep their business, you keep their funds, or how this suite of software helped X wealth manager onboard twice as much funds from clients, because maybe some of these clients have their money diversified elsewhere, and they just I'd have to know more about the kind of personas, but something around like how this wealth manager achieved X. So you can even specify the wealth manager. So if you've worked with someone that's high profile, you might even say how whoever it is, what are they called? How whatever capital managed to onboard twice as many clients using prompts. Using clever software tricks, and then that's just something that that sounds different. Someone who's actually watching that on the other side, who's seeing that ad come up, might look at that and say, "Well, I'm aware that there's software that I can use to kind of manage the boutique or whatever, or the wealth advice company, and I'm probably using some already." So you need to kind of communicate how. There's a few key things that lead to massive transformation in growth for that. So, you can always walk these things back in your content. So it could be that in the ideal case, for a very large wealth manager, they can generate several million in extra, sort of deposits. But in practice, most of the clients you work with might not have that large of an operation, but you should still not shy away from framing it as a new opportunity and being quite outlandish with your titles, because everyone is just seeing this stuff just go through their feeds and they're just sort of switching off. So you need a reason to be like, hey, wake up, like this is transformation here. This thing you're about to read or take part in, this webinar is you changing things around. This is you doing that, because these people that run these companies, maybe they people who run wealth management companies tend to be pretty money focused and want to live on a beach and buy a Ferrari. So you can be a bit more in their face there, because those are things that they obsess about every day. So you're just like, hey, those things you obsess about every day that would really signify to you that you have high status? Yeah, those things come about by this. So it's not that you ever say, hey, would you like a Ferrari? Why don't you join my webinar? It's that it has to be communicated in a subtle way where it flicks on the switch in the person's brain that says, the reason why I'm going to do this is because that's very interesting. I can see how that it kind of subconsciously just ticks on their brain to go, yes, this is a way that I'm going to get all the things that I want out of life, not just managing my software, managing my company. So I think they're probably going to kick us out fairly soon. So if anyone has any other stuff, I can chat. I think I got to everyone there. Thanks for the feedback, guys. I'm glad Ollie and Andre, you enjoyed it. I think they're going to send the presentations around afterwards in like a video. So absolutely. And I've got the YouTube channel, which is just Brainy Marketing, which you can check out anytime. I make videos like once, recently not that much, but a couple times a week, or sorry, a couple times a month. And I'm increasingly focusing it on this area because it's the kind of IP that's really working for me. So yeah, I might see some of you over there. If you just search that in YouTube, you'll see that. Cool. I think that's us done then. I'll stop sharing, and then I think they will kick me out in a second. I'm not too sure. But lovely to spend this time with everyone. I really hope you found it useful, and at least were inspired to maybe relook at some marketing materials with that kind of eye, just being a bit more punchy in your messaging, and really realizing that the person on the other side is a human. Cool. No worries. No worries. Thank you all for listening in, and any questions, just email me. Alrighty. Ciao, everyone. Bye.